What is up, everybody? I'm a motherfucking liar, but this time I'm serious because I got something I need to do real quick. I do want to say I'll probably have a couple of streams going. I may do one tomorrow. I really don't know. Depends honestly on how I feel. I'm definitely going to try to make sure I contact some folks and tell them to be ready for it though, because yeah. So you got that. Then you have and I should probably have my super chat turned on too by then. I don't have it turned on right now, but by then, because I'm actually going to do a revamping of the vlog or the channel, and really revamp it. Really, I got some good stuff coming up for you. So anyway, I just wanted to answer a quick question that was asked to me. So it was asked to me, um, on Bernard Riley. And shout out to Bernard Riley, doing some big things. I've been looking at stuff. Got some really good streams. Got some really long streams. But ain't nothing wrong with that. People kill me with that. Oh my God, your streams are XYZ long. Zero is starting to have some long streams too. So that's like that BGS legacy shit. So anyway, somebody asked me, or not somebody, ARC asked me about, he asked not just me, but other folks, why do we care? If this stuff is not personally affecting us, which a lot of folks think that folks are just calling bullshit on that. Because to be fair, a lot of women do a lot of bitching and complaining, and let them talk. They all married, they all in perfect situations, right? So obviously, one would common sense would say that it's a lot of dudes that are out here fronting. It's YouTube. You can be private. Nobody really knows everybody's business. It is what it is, right? So the question was presented: why do I care? Why do the others care? So I'm gonna speak for me, and I kind of answered it, but you know how I can be when it comes to taking up a lot of oxygen in a room. So I'm going to try to answer it here. Here's the thing about why somebody cares. When it's even though this is a lot more serious, it would be like you talking about, why do you care about any industry? Why do you care about why your favorite team is always losing? Why do you care why black rappers can't seem to stick together to actually build shit for the most part? Any situation that does not affect you or affects you to degrees of situation, why do you care? And the answer is, I want to be a winner. Now, Obsidian presented his answer as far as he's tired of being blamed for the failings of black women. Yes, that's part of it for me too, but that's not really what really motivates me. What really motivates me is, and this is way before I came to fucking YouTube, understand something about me. I'm pretty much the same. How I am offline is how I am online. It's not really a lot of differences. There may be subjects and things that I don't really talk about because it's not really relevant to what I'm doing in that moment. Because none of the shit that I'm doing right now really makes me money as far as what I'm talking about in this space. So that's not really what drives me to do it. But understand that when you think of things from an economic standpoint, and obviously, most people divide themselves up by race. I don't give a flying fuck how people want to frame the situation. At the end of the day, when it really comes down to it, that's how most people divide themselves up. You can even see that in the church. The church is one of the most segregated places in America. So this idea of, there's liberalism, conservative, even amongst liberalism, that shit is true. And even if you around folks, that don't mean that like behind the veil or in the clockwork of these folks, they're not operating on that way. They may not be ultra operating on it, because obviously if you can get value out of somebody, you would do that. But at the end of the day, you're not going to find, I'll give you an example. You're not going to find a lot of white men, Latin men, and Asian men that will throw their own under the bus for your black ass. Now, you'll find black people doing that shit for other groups, but you don't find that in reverse. They may throw others under the bus for each other or for their own gain, kind of steel sharpen steel. And I'm going to get back to the question. But you don't see that shit in reverse. That's some shit that black people do because Black people are always trying to reach out. And it's really kind of a low key confirmation that black people are at the bottom of the fact that it happens. And by the way, that shit happens in the that shit actually happens in the upper echelons of the black community too. Unless you have a very extreme gap, which if you have that big of a gap between one race and another race, usually they're not hanging with each other because at that point they're not in the same class. You will not find folks throwing their own under the bus. They will do what they can to stay away from situations like that, especially if they're getting value from you. But if it comes down to it, they're going to do what they got to do. And that's true for other groups. We're one of the few that really don't do that like that. Now, religion can kind of interfere with that a little bit, but not as much as you would think. So anyway, with all that being said, coming back to the question becomes, well, why do I care? Well, that's exactly why. At the end of the day, this is not about some pseudo, oh, I'm ultra pro black and I have 11 my people. No. This is about wanting to win. And this is also about understanding that a rising tide raises all ships. And when I say that, I'm not just saying that from a perspective of me benefiting from other successes. I'm talking about the fact that when people are in power, your protection is predicated on the masses of the group. And that's what black folks don't understand. This is why a lot of the boule and bourgeoisie are really hidden. They're not out there like that. Or they stick to what their lane is for the most part, because once they operate outside of that, then you can be Me Too'd and a whole bunch of crazy shit can happen to you because you don't have that same kind of protection. You don't have the protection that other groups have. And your money is of value, but your money goes a lot further if you're hidden. If you're like out there, or like you're in a situation where, the mass public can really affect what you can do, then that really limits you no matter how much money you have. Snoop Dogg is like a perfect example of that. And and he can't really speak his mind, because at the end of the day, he's never harnessed his money to separate it from people that can actually just instantly turn what actually makes him money off. Now, you look at other industries and stuff like that, it's different. But my point is, at the end of the day, we are not a really strong independent group. And when I think of myself, I think a lot of other groups that are like our size are a lot smaller. I think of people like the Lebanese, a lot of groups that are known for doing big shit. Like, even though they're smaller groups, they have to be tight knit. Now, this is not to say that the black community needs to be judged by all 40 million, because real talk, I've always said that really, if the black community got distilled down to like a strong 10 million, that's the size of Haiti. That's not small. That's not that small. And honestly, if you do that, a lot of the people that will say that in the community they deal with, or the segment of community they deal with, they don't have these problems, well, there you go. They would be a lot more right, because if you talk about 5% of the black community, you're talking essentially about 2 million. Now, obviously, we're talking about adults, so you can double that if you're going to add kids. You see what I'm saying? So all of a sudden, that 5 million, because it's generally going to be, you would want it to be like maybe a third adults and 2/3 kids for growth. You got what I'm saying? So these are the things that I look at. I look at actually these problems as they are and saying, are they solvable? And if they're solvable, what's stopping them from being solved? And I care about that, because at the end of the day, you got all this bitching and complaining. And this is what kills me. And I got to say this. You got dudes that they didn't, and I mean this because this is a lot of folks. You got folks they really didn't have a motherfucking thing to say all these decades. I'm talking about, if you look from 1990 to 2010, that's a fucking 20-year period. And we can argue till now, which would be a 30-year period. So you started with the talk show shit, then you go, nobody had nothing to say about all the bitching, all the throwing black men under the bus that was going on. And people like to act like that is a harmless thing. No, it's not. It's not harmless. This is why with Jewish people, you can't say a motherfucking thing about Jews unless you want to lose your job. It doesn't matter how white you are. Doesn't matter. And they don't let nothing go. And they don't even make a big deal about removing you. You're just gone. Even other Jewish people, when you anyway, because I'm distilling. My point is they don't let nothing go. Mr. Fantastic said this too on Bernard Riley's thing. He said, um, there is nothing that the sisterhood doesn't let go unchecked. Now that's not really a power move. That's more a secure move, but it can be a power move. Think of those commercials that dude did. That dude that owned Shea Moisture did those biracial commercials. All he was doing was expanding his business. Dude served black women for 30 years. 90, but they leverage. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. I'm just saying they leveraged their power and they made it very known. They brought that man to his knees over a commercial. Didn't even say nothing. So my point, and so that just tells. So the point is, and this it doesn't matter what vector you want to look at it is. Your power is not just predicated on your own individualism. Now, if you stay in your own lane, then yeah. And you know what lanes to stay away from. This is why folks get real individualistic where they say if it don't affect me, it don't matter. Because and this is a big reason why black folks, quite frankly, always wind up having shit bite them in the ass before shit happens. You know? So I just wanted to put that out there. I just wanted to make that very clear. I care because eventually it will affect you. Eventually. So anyway, with that being said, look out for these streams. And this is Edward signing off. Peace.